Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Career Real Talk webinar. And tonight it's all about Girl Power Hour. And I am so happy that I am tonight joined by three trailblazers, and I have a lot of respect of the thing that they are doing. And I am very honored that tonight we can have a conversations, basically conversations among like-minded people or among friends who believes in the same cause, which is women empowerment and girl empowerment. And tonight we are going to explore in their perspective and in their own stories, in their own experience, in their own wisdoms on challenges, changes, and chances that is happening, that is available to women. Without further ado, I would like to introduce all the wonderful speakers for tonight. Hello, I am, give me some time to introduce our speaker one by one. So we will start with Izana. Izana is, I know Izana since 2012, right, Izana?
Yeah, it feels like forever and a short while at the same time.
2012, we were actually introduced by our mother, and they believe that we can get along. On that note, along the years, I've seen Izana grow into remarkable women, and let me introduce her professionally. Izana is a president and CEO of Girls for Girls, Girls for Girls International, director on board of Talent Corp Malaysia, advisor on board of Lean In Malaysia, a Harvard graduate, and of course, a visionary. A visionary, I feel that she has all the right visions for the women in this country. Welcome to the show, Izana.
Thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you for thinking of me for tonight's conversation, Chicken. Really, I am always happy to be there wherever you are.
Thank you so much. Okay, and the next speaker for tonight is Abe Abdurrahim. Abe also, we get to know each other in 2016 or so, right? 2000 and something like that.
Yeah.
And I always know her as a person who championing women empowerment. You always have been doing that through LinkedIn. And I didn't actually know what you do professionally until until a few years back. Actually, then I was like, oh, okay. I thought you are focusing fully on LinkedIn, but actually, Abir is head of digital affinity at Great Eastern Takaful Berhad, co-founder of Lean In Malaysia, named as regional leader in Lean In Org by Sheryl Sandberg. She is the COO of Facebook, correct? If I get it correctly.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I feel that I need to bring in the conversation tonight is that Abir is an adventurous, world tallest mountain climbers, where she actually went to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I adore these things because I personally cannot do it. I don't know how you do it, but you can do it. And that if that's not women empowerment, I don't know what the hell is. Okay, right. And the next person, and don't worry, I'm gonna change your name on the screen. I am so sorry about that. Let me do that very quickly, because you see, this is the thing with technology. You already did that before and it doesn't work. Give me a moment.
Oh, I just realized that as well.
I was like, okay, it's too good. I am so sorry. The good thing about technology, this is a tips. You cannot freak out. You just have to like wing it, So
Yeah.
Thank
No worries.
you.
So while you do that, Shikin, just want to say thank you for having me tonight. I think it's always a privilege to be on the same panel as these amazing ladies, including yourself. And I look forward to a productive and fruitful conversation on women empowerment. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, I am very sure that we are going to have a very lively conversation about so many different topics tonight. And the last speaker that the name flashed wrongly on the screen just now, and I am so sorry, is N Rajasaikaran. I only recently get to know this wonderful person, this wonderful, wonderful woman, and that's because I stalk her on Instagram. You see, this is why I love social media. Sometimes you can really meet, amazing people because you're like, I actually feel that I can jive with this person. Let's just randomly send a message to connect, and you were so lovely, and to open yourself a possibility for friendship, and I am always grateful for that. And Anne is actually Anne do so much things, and Anne is the chief executive officer for Imperium International College, principal officer for the Budimas Charitable Foundations, winner of Women Icon Malaysia Award, member Board of Governor of St. John International Secondary School and St. John International Primary School, and most importantly, she wants to be known as the Chief in Heels. And if you go to her Instagram, you will understand why that she's the Chief in Heels. She's always in heels, and at a certain age, I have to admit to you, I can't wear heels anymore. It's just I cannot do that. But how did you still do it?
Actually, I think for the first time we met, she said hi and hello to me, and then she went on to look at my feet. She's like, "You're really in heels." So I was like, "Yes, I am. Those are the shoes I wear." So anyway, it was just a really funny moniker I picked up because Instagram was big on what you want to be known as, what's your branding and all of that. So I did it for fun, and it kind of stuck. But having said that, thank you for having me today. And it's pretty amazing to get to know these two lovely ladies here today. And I look forward to the sharing and to the difference that we can make to lots and lots of ladies out tonight.
Okay, super. Now that I already introduced all of our wonderful speakers for tonight, Izana, Abir, and Anne, and I'm going to kickstart our conversation. I'm going to kickstart our conversations. Somebody already in the audience say, I am excited. And okay, let's start the conversation with challenges. So Abir, as a co-founder of Lean In, and from my little bit of small research that I did about Lean In is focusing on building community to empower women and aim to empower the members to make an impact in their lives. So you have been doing this for many years, I believe. And I would like to ask you, what do you think the main challenges faced by women nowadays when it comes to career progressions?
So I think I would like to start off by addressing this question by quoting the Global Gender Gap Report last year, 2020. According to this report, it says that it will take another 100 years to achieve gender equality based on the current rate of progress. So what that means is these statistics of taking another 100 years to achieve the gender gap have been widely used to push a lot of initiatives and efforts by governments, NGOs, associations, investors, and companies into action. But in the face of the COVID-19 that has just hit us since last year, and in the face of economic crisis, efforts will have to be doubled if we are to avoid losing another 10 years to achieve the gender equality. So going back to the question, now that we have that frame of mind, how long it takes to achieve gender gap, one of the main challenges that we face in today's world is actually COVID-19, I would say.
Okay.
Along with other institutional, challenges or individual or community challenges or family challenges that we have been facing for centuries now. This has added this is basically the cherry on top, and has led a lot of women to step out of the workforce because they can't just cope in this current situation anymore. And statistics has it that 1 out of 5 women actually has considered to step outside of the workforce because of the double sort of like burden syndrome that we always talk about, right? The bulk women having to deliver at work at the same time they have to perform their wife duties, motherly duties, everything happening at the same place in this COVID-19, and there is no demarcation when it comes to personal and professional. So we can talk later on what can we do in facing this main challenge that women are going through, but that is one of the key things that a lot of people have missed out on, how COVID-19 has affected especially women and the vulnerable society, mostly in this climate.
You bring a very interesting point there, because I have been reading about challenges about women, and everything that I see is the same stories, basically, pregnancy discrimination, gender pay gap. We were talking about sexual harassment, all of this thing. I completely missed out on that COVID-19 is actually imposed a big challenges on women, and we still don't really know how to navigate around this. So now I'm going to throw this question to Izana. Do you have anything to add when it comes to challenges for women right now besides COVID-19? And what are in your line of work in developing Girls for Girls, what do you think are holding women's back? What are the challenges facing by girls probably?
Thanks, Shikin. So I think Abir laid the foundation really well for tonight's conversation, because the problem which she highlighted is present problem, present new, well, it's not upcoming because we're actually in the thick of it all. But aside from COVID, which is at the center of world issues at the moment, the more traditional issues which I see in our mentees and the young ones that we deal with is a lot of confidence issue. Because systemically, culturally, a lot of things do inhibit and also hold our women down from the get-go, from young. Actually, it's not an inhibition that comes up in teens or later years, but it starts from a young age. Number two is a lot of women cite through research. What we found is that they feel they don't have the technical skills to be able to pursue something bigger, something outside of their comfort zone. And third is the issue about them not having the right support system or a tribe or a village, husband, partner, boyfriend, family, maybe girlfriend, I don't know, for some people who don't have their back, who don't push them, who don't give positive words of encouragement and support. And maybe that's like push some people need to say, hey, you must go for it. Yes, you can. You are overqualified. You are better than that guy. Because I'm gonna quote a report that was done, and the main summary is that when men meet only say 6 out of 10 of the criteria to pursue a promotion or anything of that sort, they will go for it. But women wait until we're 9 out of 10 of that criteria, or 10 out of 10 before we raise our hands, say, yeah, now I'm comfortable to go. That is the confidence issue, and that holds us back quite a bit from, say, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, or going for CEO position, or going into politics and running for a minister position, MP position, running for the prime minister of this country, for example. Of course, this is a very simplistic summary. There's a lot more we can dig deeper shortly if you'd like to. But in our research and our line of work, it's these 3 issues which we look to plug through our G4G program. It's through intensive research. But of course, in today, August 2021, I'd say COVID-19 is the biggest issue pulling our community back.
So now I'm going to, when it comes to about confident issues and technical issues and tribe, right? Let me just bring the conversation back, and I'm going to say that this is not new, and it has been going on for so long that women have all of these, we second guessing ourselves a lot, you know, when we want to do something. And I want to bring the conversation to somebody in the audience agree with Izana. I totally agree with Izana. Somebody said that. And I read something that Anne, that you in one of the magazine, if I'm not mistaken, about, you know, there should be more women sitting at the table, or be in the leadership positions. And you have established yourself as a CEO of a college, international college, and also that you also run your own charity and basically working your way up among the men. So share with us, how do you manage to do that?
Um, um, I think the points that Izana and Abir brought was it covered a little bit of what I'm going to share with you now. I feel that at this point, and this is a bit of a continuous issue, I feel, it's just that we lack a lot of representation. I mean, for women. Hence why I always feel that these days, in order for someone like a lady to be in a particular position, if they want something, they have to open their mouth and speak up, and they have to outperform the men. Outperform, I say, because like you said, Izana, if they have just 6 points to make it to that job, they will get it. But for us, they make sure that you are 11 out of 10, and then they will give you the job. So, and I felt that as women, we've always had to prove ourselves a bit too much. And well, to me, I felt like it worked pretty much as an advantage, because that's why I decided to learn up, do up a lot of things. But because I also had the advantage of many mentors and many people around me pushing me, telling me that I should do it. But having said that, I feel the hardest challenge women face today during this particular time, especially during COVID, is burnout. I would like to speak about burnout, because I feel it's been a tough 1.5 years, and we've all had to continue doing what we were doing pre-COVID till now at the same pace, if not even harder, I feel. And we've not had time to take for ourselves. And I notice a lot of my friends, especially the ladies, who are all saying that, you know what, I just can't do this anymore, and I'm headed towards a burnout. So I feel it's very important to recognize that. Also, I feel the lack in IT knowledge. So when they first rolled out the whole let's do meeting virtually and on Zoom, a lot of ladies were very shy to admit the fact that they didn't know this, even myself. And I thought that we needed a bit more confidence to get on board and to understand this a bit more. So we did a lot of things. We did workshops, we did a lot of sessions to make sure that we get on board with it and we push ahead. Um, I also felt that it's so tough during this particular time to manage our roles and responsibilities equally. At home, we are the daughter, the wife, the partner, the cook, everything with that. And then at work, we're expected to be this powerhouse which just goes, go, 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 go for 8 hours, maybe stop at lunch. But when you integrate these two together, it's a bit chaos. So hence why I feel that I think it took a while for us to get to a point where we needed to segregate that and take time for ourselves as well. Also, I feel that again, the lack of encouragement, I feel there's just not enough of us telling each other that, you know what, you're doing good, you're doing well, just do what you can today and continue tomorrow and power on tomorrow. So at this point, I feel that is the current challenges faced by women in general.
Yeah, because I read, this is also not a new story. This is an old story that women, after work, you are expected to come back to cook and take care of the kids. Well, most traditional rule for men, they just can come back and unwind and they can just relax. So that is one of the reason that is right now, that when everybody is working from home, it's very fluid. You don't even have, the time is so fluid. That's why we burn out. We don't know when to clock out. When we don't know, we don't know when to quit. So there's a question from the audience, and I'm going to throw this to Abir right now. And this is in line of all. I'm going to talk about tribe. The challenges about tribe. and women can be women's enemy. And this is a question from Malashini Gopalakrishna Murthy. She asked, do you think women really do back up another woman at workplace?
It's a very interesting question. Thanks for that. I feel it's a catch-22 kind of situation, you know, when you go around and champion women empowerment, and then you see that CEO who's a woman, and you feel that, oh wow, like she probably had support you know, as she climbed the corporate ladder. But then you go to her and you ask all these questions, and then she tells you, no, I do have had mentor, but I have not had those challenges that you mentioned. So I think, you know, you or everyone else should really work hard like I did. And then there's also another type of CEO who's a woman who would say, yes, I would turn around and extend my hand to help you up. So once you have had a seat at the table, the decision-making table, there are women who would want to mentor you because she has gone through those challenges that Izana and have mentioned, right? So it's a catch-22 thing. And this is what you need to do if you encounter such a situation where women are your enemies instead of your ally. Is that, yes, I mean, to be honest, there are women who don't support women, but there are women who support women because, you know, of their disagreement of how you display or act at work, right? But one thing that you can do to navigate that is you need to be direct and make that enemy into an ally when you see those women undercut you. What that means is go to her and tell her, you know, have I upset you in any way? Why are you behaving, you know, in such a way towards me? And, you know, if you don't have that kind of communication with one another at workplaces, especially, there would be assumptions that would make you as a woman, I would say, tend to overthink, and it will stall you in your progression.
And then become gossipy, and then you start gossip.
Correct.
Then, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So I think it's hard enough that men are not extending their hand to help women to progress up the pipeline. So, you know, let's make women at the workplace as our support system. And if you see another woman acts and undercuts you, go to her and encourage that kind of culture, you know, and make her your posse, you know, make her your support system. And I think that is one way that we can do as an individual. But of course, it does not change overnight, because by the end of the day, I have also seen men who undercuts men too. So, you know, it goes back to individual and leadership. I hope that answered the question, Shiken.
I think that you answered that question perfectly, but then I'm going to take that point, and there's a question that I received also on my WhatsApp, and I don't know why it's on my WhatsApp. And the question would be like, you were talking about, you know, you can approach that woman and you say, you know, was there something wrong? Why do you behave this way? Did I do something wrong? Whatever. And then also there's women that have no problem mentoring. And the question now is connected to mentoring. And I'm going to ask Izana on this. What is the best way for, you know, young women to approach another maybe senior women to mentor them? And what are the best criteria that these young women should look on when they're looking for mentor? You know, I think many people can actually benefit from mentoring. I really believe in the system of mentoring. I've been mentored with many great women, and one of a person that indirectly mentoring me, and I have to say this, is Izana's mom. You know, I owe that a lot to your mother. You know, she's, and I need to put this on record. So I'm very glad that I have that opportunity. So that's why this is a question where this young person asks, okay, I want to be mentored, but who am I supposed to go to? How am I going to approach them? And, you know, what quality should I look for? And also, what if they say no? You know, so what do you think?
So thanks for the question. Actually, so firstly, my mom loves to mentor you because your personality is firstly so lovable, and both my mom and I really enjoy our individual time with you. So that you must know. But to answer the young lady's question, let's talk about it in two ways, okay? One way is if you join a formal mentorship program. So Abir's Lean in Malaysia does, those career comeback programs, which are excellently structured, and the mentors have been vetted through with such rigor that the young women who enter the program as mentees really will flourish. Abir is she in my many years of working with her, she produces high quality programs, and that is, for example, a program you can join, or this side, Girls for younger girls in university age. We also bring in materials from Harvard. We carefully select our mentors from many different multinational organizations in Malaysia. So one way is to join a proper mentorship program with brands and leaders you trust. They have the same ethos and ethics that you do. They speak the same language. So you must have that keserasian. You must have that compatibility.
Yeah.
That's really important if
Same
you're
vibe.
looking for a program. Exactly. So a second method is if you are about to ask an individual to mentor you at work or through your network. So not part of a program, you just kind of are looking for someone one-on-one kind of thing. There are some questions you need to ask yourself. Number one, are you ready to be a mentee? And why I say this is I, like you and all the other ladies here, believe in mentorship. So I've had also a lot of young girls approach me to be their mentor. But professionally and personally, if I say yes to something, I will do it. I put 150% in and I will see it to the end. But I have had some experience where young people don't show up. And if you don't show up, that's 50% of the whole conversation, the teaching or sharing is gone. And it's also a big disrespect to the mentor you choose.
Yeah.
So number one, are you ready to give it your best, because you're asking someone to give you their time? The returns on that person's time is your success and growth. So showing up is really important. So number one, are you ready to be a mentee? Number two, how do you find that compatibility we're talking about? The mentee must do a lot of research, because trust me, the mentor will research you as well. And in today's day and age, it's not difficult to find information about you. Are you a hard worker? Are you going to put in? Are you open-minded enough for the growth and feedback you're about to receive? Because when you go through mentoring, nobody is there to hug you. Of course, everyone does it nicely, but feedback is going to be given. Mentors expect you to take the feedback into consideration and grow and attempt, take action, so that everybody's time is put into good use.
Yeah.
So definitely research that person, the mentor you want to pair up with, and see if their style. Some women are strong, some women are soft-spoken, some women are somewhere in between, and very much like a plateau. And you got to choose what works for you. Mentors are not going to change their personality to suit you, right? They're going to be themselves. They're going to share with you the experience and everything. So you have the liberty, if you're choosing your own mentor, to choose someone who would fit you. Some mentees may like to be challenged. So they want somebody who's a little bit more direct. Some mentees want to be mollycoddled. So maybe then they will choose someone who's a little bit softer with language and choices of words.
Mother, like mom.
Motherly, nurturing. Some people suka kena, hey, macam tu. So, it really depends on the person. Like in our Girls for Girls program, we have a database of mentors, database of mentees. And I can tell you, as I sit in and I listen in on all the mentors, we have so many different types of amazing women out there. So really very high level answering of that question is two ways, basically. Number one, join a mentoring program. Number two, seek for your own mentor. And if you're going to seek for your own mentor, make sure you are prepared to give it your all, and also research the person before you obviously approach them and say, for example, Kak Long, I really admire you, and these are the things I'd like to achieve in life. And I noticed from researching your background, you have achieved those things as well. Would you be able to maybe spare a few sessions with me just for me to ask you some questions, and maybe you can give me some feedback on my thoughts? I really love for you to mentor me, maybe like over the next couple of months, because I have a specific target that I want to meet. In that way, your mentor knows exactly what you want to achieve. What is it in our lives that has attracted you? And also, it's a very set time period. So I know I'm not spending like 5 years on you. I'm spending 5 months maybe.
Okay, understand. So to sum that up, and I'm going to be very short on that, it's basically you need to manage the expectation very well, both sides. Whether you are the mentees or you are the mentors, if you want to find the mentors, set the expectation on the mentors, and you also need to, to manage the expectation with the mentees as well, as how much time that we're willing to spend, what are we going to share, and that is something that I also find unfortunate, that some people just doesn't show up when they wanted, and that happened many times, and that translated into attitude problems. That's completely different conversations, but we're not going to go into that right now. So I'm going to go back to Anne when it comes to, and I'm going to combine two challenges, which is COVID-19 and confident issues. We already have a problem with confident women in general, maybe because we grew up in a patriarchal society, we're not used to confrontations or all this kind of stuff. So in your opinion, how can women actually build up their confidence in such a challenging time right now?
I feel that a lot of women, some are just naturally confident, and some of them they're very timid and they're very quiet. But once they open up to you, you realize there's like some untapped amount of confidence over there. But having said that, I feel that in order for someone like me, I was never too confident when I was growing up, simply because I grew up in an Asian household. So I was never taught to like, oh, I am this, I am that. No, no, no. So I was always taught to be humble, a bit too humble for my own good, but always told to like, oh, you just got an A, so why you cannot get A plus, So I think that sort of like affected me along the way. So I did not speak up when I needed to, and I didn't know how to react around people who just knew what to say at the right time. So I would take my time. But I met some very interesting women who inspired me, and I told myself I wanted to be like that, and I learned how to gain my confidence that way. So I watched a lot of inspiring videos. So from where I'm from a small kampong called Sungai Udang in Malacca. At some point, it was not even on the map. So it's near an army camp, and there's nothing there. Up to this point, there's probably one KFC there. That is it. That's the amount of civilization there. But it's very exciting today. So I didn't have anything to be confident about. So imagine coming to a big city in KL and telling people, where are you from? I would just tell people I'm from Malacca, and I just keep very quiet after that because I didn't know what to say, right? But after that, I met people speak up about who I was. I was told to tell my story, and my story wasn't a great story, but I told my story anyways. And I was surprised as to the amount of confidence it gave me, because somewhere along the way, I manage a foundation for a lot of underprivileged children, and a lot of these children were looking for a beacon of hope, someone to tell their story to. And they were not very far away from who I was. And they told me that I had a lot of confidence and I was inspiring to them. So that's where I got the formula right. That was how I learned to be confident. And I made it a point to tell them what they needed to do, and not to be shy, not to be ashamed.
Yeah.
And that was how I gained my confidence.
Yeah.
So it's a very long-winded story, but it sort of like worked for me. So hence why today, when I meet a lot of children, a lot of girls who who are so quiet, they don't even meet your eyes, I actually make it a point to sit them and tell them how to introduce themselves,
Yeah.
speak up. Don't be afraid to sound stupid. There's no such thing as a stupid question. And I've repeatedly told myself this because I felt that way. I've always said, like, I don't want to ask this question because I might sound stupid. How can I not know the answer to this question? But I later on realized that even someone as big as Michelle Obama said that even when she was sitting in the table of a lot of dignitaries and ambassadors, and she realized that even they did not know what to say,
Correct.
when to say.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was pretty much a light bulb moment for me. But to go back to your question as to how to be confident, I feel you need to be very sure of yourself, and you need to be true to yourself, and you need to understand what your purpose is in life. And I think once you've answered those questions, you will understand what are you there for. You're not a fake. You're not here to please anybody. You're here for a purpose. And I think as long as you know that, whatever you speak will pretty much be the truth.
Yeah, I wanted to add that when you said that, when Michelle Obama is sitting with all the dignitaries and they also don't know what to say, I always feel that I said this before in Izana's webinar recently, and I said, actually nobody get their shit together. No one. We just wing it. Basically. So
I always have this when when you go to like a big dinner and you're all prepped up with all your cue cards, and then suddenly when you get there, you're like, you don't know where the cue cards are, and then suddenly you just and I've just told myself, it's like, you know what, just carry conversation.
yeah.
How are you today? I genuinely want to know about how you are doing, and you'll be surprised as to how far that takes you to your cue cards.
Good. I love that. I love that insight. And I'm gonna bring this to Abir. And Abir, also in terms of, you work in corporate and you've been doing this for a long time and you're also doing very well. There's a question here that somebody asked, how do you overcome? And you also climb the mountain, which is actually, if it's me, I will have a lot of moment of self-doubt. Can I do that? And the question would be, do you ever have a moment of self-doubt? And women are infested with self-doubt, imposter syndrome. Doesn't matter how many things you achieve, you will always like, actually, why am I even here? Am I even deserving the seat? Do I actually deserve to be here? And doesn't matter where you are. Even if you're super successful, you still have this imposter syndrome. Academics, corporate women, CEOs. So give the audience tonight a practical tools that you yourself use to overcome your self-doubt, which is one of the biggest challenges for women, I believe.
Okay, I love that question because I think it has always, it's basically a topic that a lot of people are aware of. People keep on saying that they have imposter syndrome. Even that problem came from my most successful connections or friends who refuse to believe that they are there because of their hard work. But then sometimes like the feedback I got from them are like, no, I think I got lucky, I think there's an opportunity, things like that. They never wanted to own their story or own their success. It has happened to me personally. I might want to, maybe I can share some personal stories as well. It has happened to me a lot of times before, especially when I got appointed to be the head of digital affinity at this Takaful MNC. I asked myself, when the CEO came, asked to see me, I went to him and he offered me the job because I was a pricing actuary before. So I've always been on the technical front. I basically, for the benefit or knowledge of the audience, I do have an actuarial science background and master's. So I was practicing my actuarial.
I have a lot of respect for that because I'm not good with mathematics.
So
Mathematics give me anxiety. Like, what? Actually, sorry.
So I'm very textbook, I would say. I'm very technical, right? Like I love a career where I know the answer and then to me that success. And then suddenly I'm being pushed to this commercial front where it requires a whole other skill. It's very non-technical. And when he offered me the job, I actually took 1 week to say yes. It was a very short period of time because I told myself, when is this opportunity going to come again? Because it was in line with my career aspiration. I want to be a leader of a company by 40 years old, right? So I said, like what Anne mentioned, you fake it till you make it. And I do personally believe in that because there's this saying that I think a former Miss America, Miss USA mentioned, and I quote, "Do not fear failure, please be terrified of regret." And I'm very terrified of regret. I am terrified of waking up every morning to and ask myself, what if, what if, what if?
Yes.
And
It's the worst feeling
yeah, and I
ever.
decided, correct. And I decided to like, you know what, screw it, let's just wing it. So I accepted the offer and now I'm the head of department and I still, I hope nobody in the audience is from the company. I still don't know what I'm doing. And there are nights when I would text Izana on the side and like, girl, like I am failing, right? Like I don't know what I'm doing. So like for me, it was the fear of not saying yes and regrets. And I wouldn't want to live a life full of regrets. And I would want to live a life where I have stories to tell my grandchildren, I would say, and I want to leave a legacy. And that is my personal way of living, right? And even for Kilimanjaro and Everest Base Camp, it was because of this posse that I have from Lean in Malaysia, right? So Lean in Malaysia is made up of amazing individuals, men and women. And before Lean in Malaysia happened, I didn't even think I could hike up Bukit Gasing dekat PJ too. And I never saw myself as someone who is fit and active. But then when I exposed myself to this kind of support system and amazing individuals who join triathlons, climb Kilimanjaro and Everest Base Camp, and I told myself, if they can do it, I can do it too, right? So even though we've achieved all these things, there would be that moment when you ask yourself, are you fake? Like, why am I doing this? By the end of the day, if you are doing things for yourself and not to prove it to other people, and that's how you overcome the imposter syndrome, because you need to be happy. Like what Anne mentioned, and I love it so much. You got to be sure of yourself. You need to do things for yourself, in order to live a happy life. And I hope that to all the youngsters who are, who believe in the hustle and bustle of like, the culture of hustling, you hustle for yourself. Don't hustle for other people. You achieve things for yourself. Don't achieve things for other people. And then you'll be able to overcome your imposter syndrome, because everything is for yourself and it's your own story and you need to own it.
I think that is very inspiring. I can take something from that conversation. It's from what you said, to silence my own imposter syndrome. Even at this stage, I still kind of like wondering, what the hell am I doing? So those all the questions that you have. But you're right, you have to take the chances and you have to tell yourself, it's you do or die. There's no other options. And okay, so I am going to go to the next part because we can talk about this forever. There's so many challenges, finding your tribe, confident issues, technical skills, COVID-19, especially COVID-19, now that we have all of this SOP in place and I cannot follow it anymore. Today, there's another announcement and I'm like, you know what? I don't know anymore what to follow. I don't even listen. There's a question somebody asked before the sessions. I don't know if you guys watched the video recently where the Thai CEO of AirAsia, during the session, when the women asking a questions, and he interrupted the questions by saying, what the fuck was the questions? He said something like that, or what's the fucking questions, to the staff, the female staff that was asking the questions during the sessions. And the session was attended by the Malaysian CEO, which is Tony Fernandez, and also the COO or CFO, I'm not sure, and also other staff as well. And this upset many people, basically. And the question is that, okay, she is very heartbreaking to see how women are treated like this. And some people would say that he probably won't say that if it's a man who's asking those questions. So I am going to throw this question to maybe Izana. Do you think that, this is part of toxic male behavior at workplace? When somebody just in the public sphere, in front of everyone, and that woman, I would say, I think you watched the video. She's also like, huh, like I feel so sad when I see the woman was like, huh, like yes, and she lost her train of thought immediately after that. And I think all of us would if somebody said that to us in front of everyone. So why do you think this is happening, even at this time?
So that I would say is a toxic culture in itself. I won't necessarily say that it's a toxic male culture, because I think within the last 12 months, there were some other companies which were highlighted where even the female bosses were rough and, in my opinion, rude to their staff, which really is not something anyone tolerates today, which is why it has come out, which is why many people are fighting back, maybe for the person who at that time got tongue-tied and maybe a little bit surprised, like, am I actually being spoken to like this? So I would say it's toxic workplace culture. There's really no place for it anymore in 2021 moving forward. Actually, it's not been the case for quite a while already. In Asia, culturally, it's always a little bit tough to shift, to have that paradigm shift. And for us to say everybody has a right to be spoken to respectfully, and more, and this is an important part, everybody in that meeting has a right to stand up for the person being spoken to like that courageously. In this region, we have a tough time shifting our mindset to say somebody in that meeting should have stood up and said, I'm sorry, but I'm really uncomfortable with the way you just spoken to my colleague. Let's stick to the question, because there could be many things there. There could be many things at play, right? Fear of losing job, or maybe desensitized to sensitized to the environment if you've been there for a long time. And you may possibly say that, oh, all of you don't understand how it is here. So I'm really big on behavioral and cultural shifts. And what you've brought up is a prime example of what we, all of us here in this conversation, and everyone who's watching, we are each responsible to make sure that it doesn't happen in our respective organizations. And number two is that if we see this kind of behavior, we must speak up. For our colleague, our contemporary, our comrade who is just spoken down to, and also up against somebody who doesn't understand that this is not okay. It's not okay today. And of course, we don't depict the same rough, rude behavior as the person that in this case we condemn.
And let me throw this to Abe. This is a question also regarding this topic. What is the best way to deal with this behavior? What do you think should be done?
So Izana has pointed out rightly, right? I think when that incident came up, that particular airline senior management was behaving in a way that you wouldn't expect that such culture at a workplace still exists. And I was forwarded that video a lot of times by a lot of people, and everyone had like different kind of take. Then there are employees of that particular airline company had a totally different take together. So when you were saying that it's really normal here at the workplace, that is nothing. Worst things have happened. And I asked them back, so what are you doing? What are you guys doing to change that culture? Because this shouldn't be normalized, especially in this age, especially in COVID-19. You wouldn't know who you would impact and how that would negatively, affect someone, not just to perform at work, but also their mental health would be affected.
Correct.
You read in articles these days, the number of suicide is even increasing, and we might not know how that would lead to suicide, right? So for me, as a community, if we're on the receiving end of it, I wouldn't call it out and be accusing in my call out, but instead I would create awareness to normalize a healthy culture at the workplace, right? And to encourage people to be kind to one another, to encourage people at all levels at the workplace to be mindful and sensitive to each other. And if you are aware, nowadays companies are implementing ESG, right? And we are encouraging, people to basically create a culture that is healthy amongst the employees, right? And I feel that that's what we can do. It's to create that awareness instead of pinpointing and call out on name or shame. And that would be I think that would be what is best, because then that kind of approach is what people can accept by the end of the day. Yeah.
Instead of going gung-ho and, why you talk to me that way? Okay.
Correct. Because you can't, basically that side is negative, so you can't approach them in the same manner. So you gotta be on the opposite end, right? So, in a way to create that change and to tell them, okay, that is not right. Even though I'm not an employee of that company, that is not right. Yeah. So what this, perhaps this can be done instead. Yeah.
Understand. That's constructive, I believe, and that's within the
Correct.
comfort of our own culture, because we also unrealistically we cannot say, look, what are you talking to me like this, to your boss? You might lose your job and times is tough, you don't want to do that. So I can understand, that is a very practical approach. And I'm going to go to Anne. You are the CEO of Imperium International College and also principal of Yayasan Budimas. And I wanted to bring these interesting things that I learned recently about Sarah Blakely. And she's the founder of Spanx, And Sarah Blakely, when she started doing her Spanx, and everybody was telling her, like, you have to bring the male energy, you have to fight, you have to, sit like men and behave like men. But she doesn't believe in that. And she never believed in that. And she believed in bringing feminine energy in the organizations. And do you believe in the same thing? And do you apply that in the organization that you're heading right now? And do you see that this is something that, something that should be applicable and this should be the future?
I love that you mentioned Sarah Blakely. She's my favorite breakthrough story of like how she became an entrepreneur. And I'll still remember the fact that she had almost zero funding. Yeah, she did everything right. So I mean, she didn't have any family inheritance.
5,000 ringgit her saving, yeah.
Yes. And how she worked on it was her story was amazing. I always tell that story again and again to remind myself as to how amazing your inspiration and your womanly instincts can get you to places, right? So to answer your question, I work in an organization where there's a lot of men. There's a lot of men of a certain age who believe in how things should be. If it's not broken,
you're talking about boomers. Are you talking?
So I have to be very careful with sirs and uncles and how do you do, and I'm very polite to them because also because I was brought up and I understood that when I was first appointed to do this job, I didn't change anything about. So if you meet someone like my husband, he would say that, yeah, it's simple because you have a lot of testosterone and because he deals with me on a different level. But I am not like that. Actually, at work, I bring in the whole the whole fun part about being a woman at work. I ask them how their families are, and I get down to their level to figure out how things can actually be fixed or could be managed in the long run. So to say that I change myself, or I have to become like a man to be in a man's world, is very misleading, because I feel a lot of women feel that no, I have to be like them, I have to speak loudly like them, I have to be condescending like them, I have to tell people off like them. But on the contrary, I didn't get to where I was doing all of that. It was on the contrary. I get yelled at. I still get yelled at sometimes. And I be like what you say. I just sometimes just take a deep breath. Sometimes you want to yell back and you're like, there's just really no point to this. When things calm down, I walk back to the person and I said, you know what? I don't know what's going on with you, but that was totally uncalled for. Please do not do that again to me. So I do that. But no, I still believe in the whole bit about being kind, about being a female, and being very matter of fact about it. I do not apologize about that. I have a lot of company family gatherings, and I bring the whole family bit into it. Although my big bosses, my higher boards, who are mainly males, feel that that's a complete waste of time and you don't have to get to that point. But I feel like no, but this has worked for me. And this has gained me a lot of support. I have understood how they felt. And I believe that the minute I get that, I get what I need without having to be a mean person, without having to be the boss that everyone supposedly hates. But I'm not saying, I'm just assuming no one hates me, but I'm sure they do. But I'm fine with that. But
So
that's
you're
what I'm
not you're
saying.
not like
So,
Miranda
Sarah,
from The Devil's Wears Prada. You don't believe in.
yeah, you see, that was a great movie to watch. But then I sit back and I was like, who am I really? I cannot be that woman, because I can't be that woman, and I can't tell people to pick and choose between what makes them happy versus what's going to fund their lifestyle. So when I have someone telling me, I want to resign, I don't want to work with you anymore, I'm like, okay, fine. If you found something else that's going to lit your heart on fire, please go for it. And I'm glad you learned something whilst you're here, and we'll part ways. As opposed to being the boss to go like, I have taught you so many things, you owe your life to me. Not like that. So yeah, I think there's a big difference between being a lady boss and being a male boss, because there are a lot of things even my staffs tell me that they can't speak to a male boss about. Even my male staffs speak to me about it. And I feel like I've gained their respect, their family's respect, so much so that I understand being Asian and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important to be stern, but you still need to have a bit of life in you.
Yeah. I love that. You cannot just be, just because you wanted you don't have to be mean to be effective. This is what I believe. You can just be yourself. And speaking of having a lot of men that you work with, and I'm going to ask Izana, since you recently organized Rise, right, and Rise the Women Forum earlier this year. And I see lots of men on board in that forum as well. And does that translate to that we have more men allies now?
I'll give this one to the men. I think they were allies to begin with. They just didn't know how to enter this somewhat intimidating environment. And this is what they tell me, word for word. They want to help, but they're not sure how to, number one. Number two, they too, and I'm speaking about men who were in the Rise conversation, they too want a better place, not just for their daughters or their sisters, but also economically. They see this as something that makes sense for our future, for our country. We are 50% the population. It makes no sense not to use 50% of your resources, whatever resources we have. So I actually was very satisfied after I did the conference, because for so long I just got tired of preaching to the choir. Because I felt that I know so many empowered women. I mean, you and I go back a decade. Aber, you and I also go back quite a bit, where we've been there for each other for quite a bit. And you're a new comrade I've met through this forum. But the thing is, we all know we need to empower younger people. We need X, Y, and Z. But facts remain that the people out there who are holding positions of power, majority of the heads of companies, majority of where the funds, financial resources lie, are a lot with the men. And until we are able to address that community, that stakeholder, I don't feel like a lot of things are going to change. Many will change, say, like we're changing the mindset of the younger generation. But I'm talking about the present moment, because it is the past and present male leaders who, with a mindset shift, with a directive approach to how they can help be a part to impact this whole journey, I think then we will see some changes. We had both local and foreign male participants, Shikin, and I have to tell you, it was so refreshing. I really miss being overseas, because I feel like this women empowerment conversation is very different there. They've been at it for a while, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, and I'll share this candidly with you guys. We had 12 different sessions, yeah, at 3 different time slots. So that means 4 different talks, 4 different topics happening at one time, before lunch, and after tea time. But 4. And as I was preparing the documents and the organization and everything, we made sure we had local and foreign participation. We made sure we had an older generation for the wisdom. We made sure we had youth representation. We made sure we had gender, race, as much diversity and inclusion as I could. Because of the way I had structured my Excel sheet, I did not realize that I had some males. Can you imagine? Because I had so many women, but and each block had a designated male-leaning topic. And I happened to have, there was like one panel, it was a manel. I created a manel. And I remember one of my speakers actually called me and said, my male speaker called me and said, Izana, actually 2 of them called me and said, Izana, sorry, we really support you and we're there for you, but we will not be joining this unless you have women on the panel. And I'm like, what do you mean? I have women all over. And they said, look at the list you sent me. And I look at that specific lineup for that time slot. I had 4 people. It didn't hit me because of the way I had drawn up my Excel sheet. Number one, I was embarrassed as an organizer, but thankfully they were good friends. They're like old friends I know from UN and also old friends I know from politics overseas. So they were giving me their kind advice, like, hey, you made a boo-boo here. But secondly, I was in awe that these people who signed publicly to never be on a manel again was sticking to their oath. I was mind blown, because I don't think I would not see that for a long time here in Malaysia. And I dream of the day that we would have men who stand up and say, no, I'm not going to be on a manel. This is not part of the women empowerment journey. So yes, I saw many men, and to be honest with you, if we actually, it's going to take a bit of effort, but if we go and talk to them and ask something personal, why would this be important for you? A lot of dads who have daughters will say, I want a better world for my daughter. And a lot of those who don't have kids, maybe younger ones, say, this is better for my country. Rope them in on that specific premise and say, come, I want you to join me on this specific task. When they buy in, I'll share with you, I did the RISE conference with Senator Jaziri. Even though we're not doing RISE at the moment, I notice he is going around everywhere doing a lot of women empowerment talks. He's bought in and he is championing the cause. And for me, that's so satisfying to see.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna come back to that, but I'm gonna address one comment in the lives, like and I'm gonna throw this Abid to the Abid. There are many stereotype thinking that where in an organization people tend to prefer to have male boss rather than female boss. even in school, kids tend to like male teacher more than female teacher. This person is a teacher. Is this true? Is this stereotype true? Would actually, it was not long ago that people think that, is it, do I have to talk to the female bosses? Is it women? Susah lah, perempuan. You know, that kind of thinking. What do you have to comment on this?
Okay, that stereotype itself comes from the community, and that's how society perceives men and women. Society has long, for centuries, tell women to behave a certain way or tell men to behave a certain way. The moment the women behave somewhat non-ordinary or outside of the expected behavior, they are seen as aggressive or bitches, I would say. I was once called a bitch also in my work, but very rarely we see such terminologies are used on men, but you see men displaying that behavior every single day. So I wouldn't say that female boss acts differently than male boss. It all boils down to the individual's level of leadership itself, right? And it's something that I have been trying to create awareness amongst even my own circle of friends, right? Because when I hang out with them, they see me, I have the leaning chop on my head, like, oh, she's the girl, women, feminist, women empowerment girl who would talk about like, women's rights and stuff. And they would come to me. I've had like a lot of dinners with all of my male friends who would then complain to me about their female bosses. And then I throw back that question to them and say, I actually see that kind of behavior from my male bosses as well. So I don't see us complaining or labeling them in such a certain way. So why the bias from you? Why the mindset from you? What I'm trying to say here is that we should stop putting women and men in boxes, because men and women should be able to behave however they want to behave. They should be allowed to be themselves at wherever they are, whether at workplaces or communities, right? But the moment they behave differently, we shouldn't be labeling them, in a negative light.
Yeah.
So go back and think back about what you're saying about your women bosses, and then think about those behaviors being displayed on an everyday basis by your male bosses. It's the same.
Yeah.
You don't call out your male bosses.
Yeah.
We should stop. We should normalize that kind of culture and mindset. And I think it's one of the challenges that women face, right? I want to go back to the point that Anne brought up, her as a leader at work. We are often, this is one of the gender bias that we are not conscious of, and it's called the tightrope gender bias. What that means is that women are expected to behave a certain way, so if the women are too feminine, they are less likely to be taken seriously at workplaces. But when the women behave a little bit more masculine, they are being called aggressive.
Yeah.
They are being
Emotional.
Yes, they are being called like, oh, it's the time of the month for her. So one strategy for us to address that kind of, behavior is we need to be able to use that to our advantage, I would say. It goes back to the individual. Use a mix of both masculine and feminine traits at work to be assertive and approachable as needed.
Right. Yeah.
So then you would be able to dispel the whole, women as devil wears Prada kind of bosses, or women who I can be friends with who are like mothers at work. We can be both. And if we can be both, use it to our advantage.
I think that's also something that needs to change in terms of systematically, that just because women are shouting doesn't mean that we are emotional. When men do that, oh, he has a boss, he can, he has this, he's so manly. But when women do that, we are emotional.
Correct.
So this need, I
Correct.
think that this mindset need to change. You know, that's
Correct.
nothing to
Even
do with
if I may, Shikin, there's a study done by the US, right? Basically they conduct a study on this group of folks, and then but they don't mention the gender of the boss. And they get feedback from the group saying that, how do you perceive this kind of behavior displayed at work, right? And then the result came out to say that, oh, it's actually expected. But the moment you put a gender label to, it turns out both comparisons is that one is a man and another is a woman. So that says a lot about
perceptions.
To your leadership. It's individualistic by degree. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's correct. I hate that bias. I just hate it because it's unfair. And actually, interestingly, there's somebody in the questions, and this is specific. He wrote this question for Miss Anne. Somebody asked these questions. Being a leader of various organizations, how do you ensure that there is no gender discrimination across this company?
Okay, it's interesting that that question came about because I manage a charitable foundation, 2 schools and 1 university and 2 tuition centers. So across the board, there's a lot of staffs. So in the charity, it's more pro women, and then there's also a few men over there. In the education side, it's 50-50. So when someone comes for an interview, my questions are very straightforward, and if they ask me questions like would you prefer to have a man or a woman in this position, I would just ask them back about the task in hand. Can you do it or not? Can you dedicate your time or not to that? And I will take it from there. I do not discriminate based on gender simply because I've been there. I've been in a position where I was discriminated because of who I was. Being a woman, I have been told maybe later and not now because it's still a boys club up here. I've been told that to my face, and I took it. I patiently took it. But today when someone tells me no, I said no, I think you take my ideas, you ask me of my opinions, and I give you and I run the projects, and you still don't want to give me a seat at the table. No, I don't think so. I think there should be more than a reason of not now, not today, so practice that at all. Actually, I've been very fortunate in my organization. They've started to open up to more women. They started by hiring actually a few more lady directors, and that sort of made me feel that actually there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And they've done nothing but we've just I'll be like what you say, they've turned back and they're like we're going to pull you back. You're going to come ahead. And because of that, I feel all of the issues or hurdles that we faced as women has been highlighted. It has finally been understood. I mean, we're not just generally angry. No, we're not. Women are just not generally angry. It's just that we just have a lot to manage. And
there's a lot of things pieces off,
But I also feel, Shikin, sometimes when instructions are given to men and women on very different levels. Like for a man, you need to do this at this point, and this is when you get back to me, and you do this and you do that. It's very specific. But to a woman, they're like, so Anne, you're getting it done, right? Talk to me tomorrow. And they walk away. And they wonder why I ask, no, but you need to give me a little bit more than that, But then again, it's a double-edged sword. And then you guys like, no, because you women are very smart and you figure it out. Hence, it makes it a bit more tougher for us. But I've learned how to roll with the punches, but not to be taken lightly about it. We don't discriminate against gender. In fact, there are some sectors at work where there are more men than there are women. And I've actually asked whether you just don't like women being there, is it? I said, no, it's a field job, and I think it's more suitable for the men to do it. And I have no problem if any woman wants to do that. But at this point, I think they are more suitable to it. Again, I go back to the criteria of the jobs and whether you can do it or not, your safety level, and what you're going to be comfortable with in all of that. So I go back to that, and yeah.
I hope that that Miss Anne answer your question, Melvin. It's that's very insightful from Anne. Gender discrimination. I think maybe because some people will think that, or because she's a female boss, maybe she will like men more, or she will like women more. So actually, there's no such thing. I don't believe in that as well. And okay, so we're gonna go to last part of our conversation. We have about 15 minutes or so left. I wanted to ask maybe Izana, do you think that, when it comes to chances, right? Do you think that the cut actually do you call yourself a Girls for Girls a feminist movement, first of all?
Most definitely. I mean, in the name in itself, I often get teased, where's boys for boys or girls for boys? I said in due time, it's the boys who can have to lift up. Most definitely, and there's nothing. I think I only hear the word feminist and feminism in positive light with,
Yeah,
like
because some
cherries
people, yeah, some
sprinkle.
people were like feminists. They see it in such a negative way that some people are, even though they're championing women empowerment, they're actually quite embarrassed to associate themselves with the words. So
It might have to do with their own personal experience, but in today's day and age, I think look at the three amazing ladies in front of me. I'd say you are all amazing feminists because you're looking for equality,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? You're looking for equality, what is rightfully ours. We're not out there in the streets burning bras, although when that did happen, it was necessary, in my opinion. But today, what are we doing? We are training, we are righting the wrongs of the past, looking at gender equity, so that we can achieve gender equality. I think a word is you're able to redefine a word based on times and also culture. And I think the word feminism or being a feminist has taken a more positive light today. There are many men who proudly wear the feminist t-shirt or the feminist brand. I think it's very different today.
She shared that the
Where I'm
nephew
a
was wearing your nephew was wearing a t-shirt with
Exactly. I was telling Abir that I have a t-shirt that says girl power. And then my nephew was nicely wearing, of course he's just taking my t-shirts, right? And he was nicely wearing the t-shirt girl power. And I'm like, yes. But basically I think people are not afraid of this word anymore because maybe it's because we're not on the streets and like chanting and things like that, but we are entering systems, we
yeah.
are changing mindsets of the next generation, we are doing the work required of today.
But you will be
And
surprised. I'm gonna tell you, I actually have a dinner with a friend, and and she was like, I don't really like the word feminist, and I'm a realist. I'm real about things that's going on. While I love her as a friend, it took everything in my power. Like, no, I disagree with you.
I
Because
I
of the
do I
connotation that
get you. I have friends like
yeah,
that too.
yeah. And do you think that saying that I'm gonna go back? Do you think that the current feminist movement, like yourself or Lean In, fulfill their advocacy role on women's right and social awareness on if what can we do better and how can we do better? Do you think?
I feel that we are doing our part, but let me tell you that our part is not enough in the whole equation. I want to pull back to the earlier question you asked me, which was about the men's role in this whole conversation. As much as we were saying earlier, we're 50% of the population, they are also 50% of the population. Until and unless they're part of this journey and equally passionate about what we're doing, and like I said, I've met plenty, and I'm sure we all know at least some in our lives who are positively interested to make that change. Until more of them are on board, and in conversations like this, they're also there on the panel. Until that day is normalized, where it's so easy to find more men to speak about the conversation, our job is not yet done. I want to share one thing, Shikin, about patriarchy. A huge reason why we're here is patriarchy, right? And I
Yes.
find that a lot of people every time I bring this word up, it triggers. It triggers the men around me, family or otherwise. And I have to make sure I don't get triggered as a response. And I'm like, okay, sit down. And I have to explain to you what patriarchy means. Because they think that we're attacking men in general. And that is not the case. Women can also endorse and fight for patriarchy knowingly or not, because patriarchy is about supporting a system that favors one gender, the men, and not the women. And there's a lot of women, too many women in this country who unknowingly advocate for patriarchy in homes, in cultures outside that. They don't know it, but they are supporting patriarchy.
I
And
call
it's
them the
really
enabler.
shocking.
I'm sorry, I have to be blunt. The enabler. Enabler. Is it
Absolutely.
yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that they're also a huge part of the work we have to address. The women who support patriarchy. Just to be fair to the men who are allies out there.
That's well, if it was not long ago that I lose my shit completely on a certain issues when it comes to, like enabling patriarchy. And I was like, we have a long way to go. So the next question I'm going to ask about chances, and this is for Abir, and this is a question that been asked earlier on. What will you say to women that are too afraid to take their chances because stepping out of their comfort zone is scary?
So I would repeat the quote that I have basically embraced for the past couple of months is that do not fear failure, but please be terrified of regret. If the opportunities are there in front of you, seize them, because you might never know when that opportunity will present itself again.
Interesting.
And I would say it can be in any sort of situation, whether at workplaces, if you're being promoted, stop doubting yourself, just say yes. Just say yes, girl. If you are, given a chance to lead a project, or if you are given a chance to you have a one-to-one conversation with your boss for a salary increase, take it, seize it, because no one else is living your life but you. And that is really important, and the message that I want to tell to all of the young girls out there, by the end of the day, you need to rely on you. Stop relying on other people. Stop relying on the idea of marrying a rich man when you grow up. No, just look at the amazing ladies that we have in this panel. Anne is a successful mother of 3. Izana is a successful person championing girls for girls globally. And Shikin, oh my God, the things that she's doing, she has never stopped championing for the people who can't voice out. And she is training people who don't get that kind of opportunities, to progress in life, right? So these women found their own voice and found themselves and are doing things for themselves. And they seize those opportunities. And that is what I want to, tell the girls out there. Stop relying on people, rely on yourself.
Yeah. I find that very interesting, because I actually met a girl in Jengke last year, and they have boyfriends, and they're 10 years old and 9 years old. And they're talking about boyfriends. And I told them, why do you need boyfriends? And they're like, mak cakap kena ada suami, kena ada laki, nanti nak hidup senang. So I was like, But there's other option, you can also study hard and also, like drive big cars. I said, that's my car and I don't need whatever. And then they're like, oh, there's another option. So they're shocked that actually there's another option in life other than relying on other people or just focusing on getting a husband, and that's the way out. And I am wondering how many other girls that actually feeling or yeah, having the same thoughts. And I am very worried because we might be developing girls probably in the urban area, I would say, most of us in urban areas, we haven't really go deep. I'm not really sure what Girls for Girls do or Lean In do, but I for myself, I haven't really got the chance to really go deep in the rural area to really understand our girls. And I think maybe for all of us, that will be something that we are interested to do in the future, because we can't leave these girls behind. That's that haunt me for a long time now. Since that conversation with those girls, it has been haunting me. And I was like, I was wanted to talk to you guys maybe in the future. What can we do for these girls? We can't leave them behind. There will be big gap between educated women and not so educated women. And that is actually something that I really worry, So, okay, we are having 3 minutes left on our live tonight. And I'm going to go one by one before we end the sessions. And this is really, really great session. I feel like there's so many snippets that I'm going to take later on and I'm just going to post everywhere. Like just so many, and probably something that I can use also during programs and, activities with girls that we're going to organize in the future. And there are part and parcel of the video that I'm going to cut, and I'm just going to, you guys have to listen to this. I'm not going to even say anything. Just listen to what these women say, And before we go, let's start with Anne. What would be your last, last advice for all women today? Not even young women, women in general, because I do believe that women issue is not specifically for young people only. There are people in our age even that still struggling with confidence issues and all many things. So, what advice would you give for the women?
Okay, thank you, Shikin. So, Abir, remember you said that when they tell you that you're supposed to go and marry the rich man. So I have a group of girlfriends who says like, I am the rich man. I became the rich man, so you don't have to marry a rich man. Because that was a standing joke among us, because I realized all of my successful girlfriends just gave up the whole, it's not that they gave up on the idea of finding a man, it's just that it just didn't happen for them, or they have partners and all of that. And they said that it felt more fulfilling getting everything by yourself, right? So that was that. So my advice to women in general, girls, women, ladies, everyone that I meet, I have these few things. I have a lot of things that I want to tell them, but these few things for now. First, you have to trust your instinct. Never doubt your instinct. That gut feeling you have never lies to you. It's the real deal. You have to believe in yourself. Never self-doubt yourself. You have to learn how to take up space. Never dull your sparkle for anyone. Anywhere
Love
you go,
it.
if anyone tells you that you only get this amount of space, if you feel like you need more, take up more space. Ask for that, because we're often told to tone down. I feel it's about time that we shouldn't tone down and we should just say it as it is and never apologize for that. Never give up, keep on going, because it was one of those few things that kept me going. I tried once, I tried twice, I tried thrice, and I would fail, and I would go back, reinvent the formula, and go again at it. If it's not anything, you'll just figure out a few ways that you failed, but eventually you'll get there. So never feel like you can't do anything more. Last but not least, you need to own yourself. You are your own beautiful. The minute you believe in yourself and you realize that you have a purpose and you know what you need at the end of it, you'll get to wherever you need to get to. And you never let anyone tell you otherwise. So that's my few words for all of the ladies watching.
I write it down so that I don't forget myself. So, Izana, last word, advice for the women today.
Firstly, I love your sharings and I resonate so much with what you said. Thank you for that sharing. I have just two pieces of advice. Number one, this is about finding how to find your passion and purpose, because this is the most common question we get from our mentees around the world. How do you find your passion and purpose in life? And this is something my professor told me just a bit before I realized that this is the world I wanted to be in, women empowerment. Observe yourself. If when you are listening to talks or professors or friends or webinars, and if you are literally at the edge of your seat, like your bum is really right at the end, and your body language, your body is speaking to you, pay attention to that. That is where your body, your mind is showing you you're interested, and then dive a bit deeper into the topic that was being spoken about at the time your bum went to the edge of your seat.
Wow.
That for me was the first time I heard that advice. I'm like, oh, what nonsense. But I found myself doing that.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, actually, this is literally your body saying you're interested. Listen to that.
Yeah.
That's number one. And number two, listening to everything that we're talking about, and also just the present moment where we are, is that I want to remind our women and girls to give ourselves the space and the chance to navigate from point to point. What that means is live, there's so many ways to say live day by day, whatever it is, but basically don't let yourself fall through the cracks of the days. Because we speak about burnout, we speak about COVID. Give yourself that space and that chance to succeed by just navigating from point to point. We're not always, success and gold medal and things like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are surviving till the next morning.
Yeah.
I know I'm going through that a lot during this COVID. I'm sure the ladies here are going through it. And if you aren't, I'm going to call you out on it, because we're all human. We all go through it. If you're listening, please know this is normal, and give yourself that space to succeed. Just navigate from point to point.
Yeah.
Those are my two tips, Shigen.
Yeah. I love it. Navigate from point to point. Because sometimes you are you aiming for success and it feels really far away, and you realize that actually all the success that you achieved in the past was because you were just like, you wake up in the morning and keep showing up. You just keep showing up, and eventually things fall into places. I really love that, and I'm gonna write that down, and I'm gonna remember, like, you know what, I'm just on my point now. I'm gonna go to another point, instead of like I want to go and achieve something, gung-ho about it. And then, Abir, what is your last word on the advice? I really love this part. It gives me goosebumps, all of this advice that you give for the women out there. So Abir.
So thanks, Izana. I think that segues well into what I want to say. So I've got 4 points here, and I hope these are some key takeaways that you can practice in life after this, to all girls and women. Number one, be kind to yourself and never be afraid to ask for help. I feel that these days we are struggling to do this, to do that, like what Izana mentioned, navigate ourselves from point 1 to point 2. But in that process, we lose ourselves. So be kind to yourself. If you need a day to just shut off your phone or watch Netflix the whole day or eat ice cream, if you need a day to just binge it, go ahead. I think in this climate, nobody knows what to do as long as they are happy. And if those things make you happy, then go ahead and do it. And when it comes to never be afraid to ask for help, don't always feel that you need to appear strong in order to be accepted by people. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be down. If, let's say, you feel down every day, go ahead and be down every day. It is fine. Number 2, if you get a seat at the table, turn back, extend your hand to help others up. We are privileged to be given the seat at our table at the moment. But never forget to mentor. Never forget that there are people struggling behind us who need the same help as what we received to get to where we are.
All right.
Number 3, is what I want to share with everyone. It's something that I have held on to since I was 21 years old. I'm turning 33 on the 1st of September, it's from the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. And basically, Will Smith said to the son, never let anyone tell you what you cannot do just because they can't. That has really brought me up. And I grew up based on that motto.
I saw that
And
quote on
number
your
four,
on your biography.
yeah. So number four is by Chris Gardner. Will Smith played Chris Gardner. Number four, and the last one is an action item, if I may, Shikin, to tell everyone listening and watching. Go and find 3 people for a support system or for a posse, and have one of them to be a man. And when you have that support system, publicly celebrate everyone and each other's successes. And then you would be able to create a supportive environment for everyone. Go ahead and do that. You will be amazed at how your life will change once you found your support system. Right. That's all from me.
I love it. Like, especially on the support system part. I didn't even think about that in that way, that you have to include, a man there. Maybe we will see the difference, and also that the quote that you give, never let someone tell you just because they can't. That quote just now. Yeah, that's really nice. And I saw it on your profile, and I was like, I think I'm gonna copy that in some place. That was really, really interesting. So yeah, ladies, I am so honored for the session with all of you tonight. It's such a wonderful session, and even for myself, and I have learned a lot. And if I can be completely honest to people that are watching tonight and to all of you, I can say that sometimes, even when I'm in the rut and I was like, I don't have any motivation to do anything, I would like, let's just see what Izana and Arby is doing. And then, like, they're never stopping doing things. Yes, they are doing something amazing. I will do something amazing. Also, I cannot stop. And let's see what N is doing. Yes, let's watch just to see. These girls are never stopping. And because you guys never stop, and because you guys always showing up, you give me the reason to always showing up. And even on the day that I don't feel like showing up, because all of you are showing up, and I was like, the girls are relentless and you guys are showing. I know we have our bad days, there are days that we don't want to do anything. We should give ourselves that as well. But, to be inspired by women like yourself, it's an honor for me. And it's an honor for me to be sharing stage with all of you tonight. So I am thankful, and I would like to thank you. And I hope that once this madness is over, all 4 of us can get together in Bangsa or somewhere, and we can have coffee and have conversations together. That would be very, very, I think it would be an amazing time. So thank you, ladies. And thank you for those who's watching from the beginning until now. And I am going to end this with, I hope that all of you stay healthy, stay safe. Delta variant is crazy. And please take care of yourself and your family. Good night.